So in this presentation, I'll be continuing the comparison of Instagram and BeReal. In my previous presentation, I did compare Instagram and BeReal through frames, publics, and gender. As a quick recap, I mentioned that Instagram is largely influenced by publics, where users are influenced by their followers to maintain an aesthetically pleasing profile, while BeReal users are able to post mundane and authentic activities for their public. I also mentioned that framing in social media is shaped by our experiences in this world. So on Instagram, users are able to comment and post message frames that guide an audience's interpretation of the real world, such as that women should strive for a model-like body figure. BeReal does prevent such messages by fostering a platform for users to speak back on these expectations, allowing women to break from the constraints and representation of themselves. Lastly, I did mention that both Instagram and BeReal embrace their non-binary users with inclusive gender options. BeReal is more inclusive in that the removal of likes and comments allows users to be more authentic and expressive. So in this presentation, I'll be expanding on this comparison while also arguing that Instagram involves the use of more linguistic concepts than BeReal, specifically social class, code switching, and discourse. So I'd like to start off by saying that social media tends to reflect social classes. Dr. Dent explains that the easiest way to think about social class is as a social group organized hierarchically in relation to other social groupings. This includes upper, middle, and lower classes. On Instagram, the ability to be verified exists. According to Instagram's guidelines, the requirements are to be authentic, unique, complete, and notable. To me, what stands out the most is notable guideline. The extremely exclusive function of verification represents an existing hierarchy. Although this verified function allows for fake celebrity accounts to be distinguished from real ones, I am certain that it has created a hierarchy in which those who are verified are perceived to be more important and successful than us with unverified accounts. So I did interview my roommate, Omar Rashid. He is verified on Instagram, and he talked to me a little bit about how he was able to obtain the blue tick on his Instagram. He stated that he worked with the Baltimore County School Board. He says, "This verification has granted me many opportunities. Specifically, I've been able to develop connections that have helped me obtain a job at a well-known real estate agency here in DC. So it's evident that an account must represent a well-known, highly searched person, brand, or identity to obtain verification. This heightens the pressures placed on users to be popular. However, users are able to move up the Instagram hierarchy." Smith says, "The idea of social mobility, which embodies the belief in the constant movement of individuals into greater prosperity as new opportunities are sought. Similarly, users on Instagrams have the ability to gain more followers and popularity, which in turn allows for new opportunities. We can see this through Omar's story. Fortunately, Instagram has recently added the new option to remove likes on Instagram. It's trying to lessen the relationship between likes and popularity. This means getting rid of that hierarchy. BeReal, as I said in my previous presentation, has no option for likes or verification. Instead, users are authentic without any pressures. So obviously there's no hierarchy within this app. Omar states he has both an Instagram and a BeReal account and says that although the verification has given him many opportunities, he likes the BeReal app more because he can post without having to worry about the amount of likes he receives. As the purpose of the app is in its name itself, he's able to be real. And so Instagram also employs the use of code switching. Code switching is language switching in the course of an interaction. Participants notice that switch, as stated by Dr. Dent. On Instagram, code switching is very often encountered in comments and DMs. For example, my friend Jessica is an avid Instagram user. Specifically, she uses her DMs to communicate with her family and friends from California and Colombia. So the images below show the conversation between her and her friend Jessie, and the image to the right shows a conversation between her and her aunt Fernanda. The conversation with Jesse shows a few different concepts relating to code switching. First, we can see the of course, the use of Spanglish, or otherwise known as English and Spanish interchangeably. We also see the constant use of acronyms when texting in English. Macintosh mentions that the condensations, deletions, acronyms, and substitutions of online chatting result primarily from haste. One wants to get one's point across as quickly as possible, so one favors economy of expression. Jessica does agree with the proposers of this theory, but also says she communicates in this way because there are some words in Spanish that can't be directly translated into English. I also want to point out that these DMs specifically show substitution and deletion of letters in the English language. For example, in the image to the left, the DMs with Jesse, we see words such as TBH and a condensed version of the word please. Macintosh claims that English, almost without exception, is the only language subject to orthographic condensation. Jessica also claims she interacts with her Latina friends using both languages the same way she does with her family. However, she mentions that she is forced to comment and text without acronyms or deletions when interacting with her family's posts. She's not aware of why her family does feel this way, because they are fluent in both languages. Macintosh mentions that orthographic manipulations of text messaging have been widely considered by educators and members of older generations to be kind of moral scourge that threatens literacy standard grammar. So before the interview, she didn't know the term code switching existed, but now she understands why her family does feel this way. So I think this is a good example of why we should be analyzing our everyday activities more frequently. And then, so finally, both Instagram and BeReal impose strict frames on speech through authoritarian discourse. Specifically, Instagram mostly employs the use of dialogic discourse, while BeReal mostly employs the use of monologic discourse. I do say mostly for both because almost all discourse contains some aspects of both. Dr. Dent mentions that the Bakhtian dialogic discourse modulates a series of voices together in mutually co-constitutive ways. In other words, it's a model of conversation to practice speaking and provide examples of language usage. On Instagram, communication is centered, allowing its users to be involved and leave their own thoughts and opinions. For example, the comment section provides a space for users to interact with others by expressing their opinions and views. Users are also able to communicate with others through DMs. This itself is not efficient to be considered dialogic discourse. According to Dr. Dent, dialogic is not only stipulated by a way of multiplicity of voices, but significantly by the way in which that multiplicity leads to their co-transformation. So in other words, dialogue happens when speakers change their minds. My friend Ezra is very involved in politics on campus. His political views have been altered many times as a result of interactions within the Instagram bot. For example, he states that there are comments within the political Instagram pages he follows that have allowed him to change his perspective on certain issues. Below is a picture of dialogue occurring with another person in the comment section. So we can see an exchange of thoughts and opinions that can alter perceptions of certain subjects. He claims he's on BeReal. He's not on BeReal because he's unable to express his opinions and views on subjects that matter to him. So in my previous presentation, I introduced Jay, GW Jr., who uses they, them pronouns. They feel more comfortable on the BeReal app because they can express themselves without any feedback. This does reflect the monologic discourse in that it seeks to obscure the number of voices present in the production of discourse, but also seeks to curtail the possible interpretations that discourse might subsequently have as it circulates. So in other words, monologic discourse indicates turning off dialogue as well as its potential. So the best way to put it is that monologic discourse is BeReal's dominant approach. I do say this because there's always a perspective present, thus it can't be purely monologic. So lastly, I'd like to point out that it is important for us to take a step back and realize the effect technology, specifically cell phones, have on us. Evidently, social media users employ the use of more linguistic concepts. Social class, code switching, and discourse are reflected in this app and are prime example of how cell phones and social media have revolutionized language and communication. So we must continue to analyze social media and phones as technology continues to evolve in order to develop a better understanding of the future of technology and language. Thank you.